Hi everyone, a very good afternoon. You're watching the newsroom on ET now. I'm Mubina Kapasi. Markets are of course on the low. We have the Nifty 50 that actually slumped even below 11,200. Roughly around 11,100 is where we are perched at. And really all eyes are on the way. The mid and the small cap indices are tanking. It's a massive fall being witnessed over there. However, intraday now, we are seeing a bit of a recovery kick in. The advanced decline ratio has improved as the markets have recovered from lows. In fact, now over 45 F&O stocks are trading with gains. So we have roughly a 100-point recovery being witnessed from the day's low. We have the Nifty Bank recovering over 150 points from the day's low. And the small cap and the mid cap indices as well have posted quite a recovery. PSU banks as well have roughly managed to gain. But there are lots of stocks in news as well that one must keep on their radar, and that is something that as well we'd like to flag off. Some of the stocks that I would like to flag off, and again from the broader markets, look at a Quest Corp, the biggest decline being witnessed here since the 23rd of March. Interglobe Aviation has declined the most since the 18th of May. JB Chemicals, a stock which has been on the tear for the last couple of trading sessions, especially since it announced its Q1 numbers, has declined the most since the 3rd of April, and Aminda Industries has seen the biggest decline since the 4th of May. Volume-wise, which exactly are the buzzers? Look at a Mahanagar Gas. The volumes are at 4x the 20-day average. JSPL is as well, a stock in news, and the volumes are at 3x the 20-day average. Let me go across to my colleague Jayesh Khilnani. He's joining us now in our usual segment, ET Now Insight, and this time around it's on the benchmark index, the Nifty 50. Jayesh, what do you have for us?
Ever since the market has started recovering since the month of March, after hitting that low of 7511, what has actually happened is both the Nifty as well as the Nifty Bank have had healthy monthly corrections, which in case if you have bought have been extremely rewarding. So with the current scenario in mind, where the Nifty has corrected more than 5% and the Nifty Bank has corrected more than 15%, it is more or less in line with what we have done on an average basis so far in FY21. Let me start off with highlighting the Nifty's maximum drawdown. As you can see from the first chart that there has been significant corrections even in double digits that we have seen in earlier months, to the extent of about 11% in May as well. However, those dips have been bought, and in case you bought those dips, you have made a lot of money. And in the past couple of months, the correction has been a little bit narrow as well, because 3 to 5% is what we have clocked, and the current correction also stands at about 5%. Now this 5% in the context of things is more or less in line with the historical average as well. Since April 2020, the average correction on a monthly basis has been in excess of 6%, while the maximum correction has been about 11% and the lowest has been 3%. Similar is the case for the Nifty Bank as well. If you have a look, we have had healthy corrections to the tune of about 10 to 12%, and in one case rising to as much as 22% as well. The current correction of 15%, if you have a look at it in the context of historical averages, also seems to be in line with that, because on an average basis we have corrected about 12% while the Nifty Bank has corrected on a maximum basis at 22%, and the lowest has been 5%, which we clocked in August as well. So in the context of the broader things, the current correction, in case history repeats itself, could be extremely rewarding if you buy the dip.
Thank you, Jayesh, for that. Well, an update when it comes to the Tata Mistry saga. What we understand is that the Supreme Court has ordered a status quo on Tata's shares. In fact, we have the Mistry clan that's telling the Supreme Court that the Tata Sons is stopping pledging of shares. The Supreme Court in turn is asking when final hearing can be conducted, and moreover, remember, the SP Group is one of the largest shareholders as well in Tata Sons, and now Tata Sons is ready to buy the shares from the SP Group. The Tata Camp rather is ready to buy shares from the SP Group. We have with us senior advocate with the Supreme Court, Mr. H.P. Ranina, joining us in the show. Mr. Ranina, many thanks for joining in. You have immense knowledge on this entire subject, which has, sort of commenced since 2016, 2017. Could you really be seeing a situation like this? Or how do you think essentially this case would shape up from here on? The final hearing is of course yet to be conducted rather. But Mistry is alleging that Tata is throwing a hurdle in the way of them being able to pledge their shares. So how are you essentially reading into this case? All right. Okay. I think we've snapped the line with Mr. H.P. Ranina, but this is a case that had recently come to the fore yet again. The Supreme Court, I believe, has sort of put a status quo at this point of time on the sale of shares, and we have the Tata Group as well saying that look, they're ready to buy the shares from the SP Group, which, like I mentioned, is one of the biggest shareholders, in the Tata corporate group. That's the latest when it comes to essentially the saga. We'll also, I think, in a short while from now, be connecting with my colleague Abhimanyu, who was present at the Supreme Court, and he was listening into the proceedings. Of course, Tata Sons and the Mistry camp both want early disposal of the case. The Mistry camp is, of course, alleging that Tata is putting a barrier on their ability to be able to pledge the shares, and the Supreme Court has asked when the final hearing for this case can be conducted. So I guess for now what we'll do is we'll just wait by for my colleague Abhimanyu as well to join in. This is the latest when it comes to the Tata versus Mistry case. For now, it looks like the Supreme Court has ordered a status quo on Tata shares. Okay, great. We have with us Abhimanyu joining in. Abhimanyu, what exactly has the Supreme Court said, and what were both sides contending? Okay. Abhimanyu, if you can hear me, we just want to get in an update from you on what exactly happened at the Supreme Court in the entire Tata Mistry case, and what did both sides contend. For now, we understand that there is a status quo on the sale of shares.
That was a big relief for Tata Sons since the top court accepted its demand and asked the Shapoorji Pallonji Group and Mistry not to sell, transfer or pledge any Tata Sons shares, while the final hearing in this case will be conducted on the 28th of October, as both Tata Sons and Cyrus Mistry sought an early decision in this case. Mistry had claimed that Tata Sons was stopping the pledging of shares, which was causing havoc and was throttling the actions of the Shapoorji Pallonji Group. On the other hand, Tata had submitted that it was a mischief being conducted by Mistry and sought an immediate stay on sale, stating that if 4 weeks elapse, the situation may be beyond repair. Tata also submitted that they were ready to buy their shares from Shapoorji Pallonji Group. The top court, while asking Shapoorji Pallonji Group not to sell or pledge any further shares, has fixed the case for final hearing on the 28th of October.
28th October, that will be when the final hearing will be. Okay, we have managed to connect with Mr. H.P. Ranina. Mr. Ranina, many thanks for joining us today on ET Now. You have great authority on this entire matter that finds its genesis back in 2016-17 itself, when Mr. Cyrus Mistry exited, and ever since then, both the camps have been at loggerheads, and both of these camps essentially have obviously the biggest stake in the Tata Group. The SP Group outside of Tata, of course, has the biggest shareholding, and that's the reason why this this SC status quo of sorts on the shares owned by SP Group is sort of gaining a lot of prominence. Now, for the Tata camp, they are saying that there is mischief being conducted. But Mr. Ranina, at the end of the day, these are shares legally belonging to the SP Group. So I just want to understand your understanding of this entire case.
Well, SP Group has the right as a shareholder to pledge its shares subject to what is stated in the Articles of Association of Tata Sons Limited. Now, assuming that the Tata Sons Limited, Articles of Association are silent on this point, then the SP Group is entitled to pledge its shares, being the owners of the shares. Anybody can pledge. If you and I have shares, we can also pledge. That's a fundamental right. So SP Group has a right to pledge the shares. At the same time, Tata Group feels that if they pledge their shares, then they may not be able to acquire those shares in future, as and when any negotiation is concluded. So that is why Tatas have said that, look, we are prepared to buy over the whole quantity of shares, so that funds are available to the SP Group, and the question of pledging those shares therefore does not arise. It solves the problems of both Tata Group as well as SP Group, because SP Group wants the money, Tata Group wants to get control over those 18% shares, so that then there's no further issue involved. So this is where the situation now lies, and the Supreme Court will now therefore hear them on the 28th of October and take a final view. But if in the meanwhile negotiations can come through between Tatas and SP Group, then nothing like it. That will solve the problems on every front. So really now it's a question of what SP Group wants. Do they still want to retain the shares and exercise control and go on loggerheads with Tata Group on a continuous basis, or whether they want to sort out this problem once and for all, sell off their shares to Tata Group, get their funds which they can use in their own business, and solve the problem once and for all. Let's hope that some negotiations take place during the next 4 weeks and some agreement is reached, which will help both sides of the conflict.
Well, fundamentally speaking, if we own shares, we have the right to essentially pledge, sell, or do whatever we want. But yeah, essentially, this is what's happened in the Supreme Court. And I'm not sure, Mr. Ranina, with the SP Group, it's also a matter of prestige, right? The fact that you own that 18 or 19% stake in one of the largest conglomerates, not just in India or Asia, but in the world. It's definitely going to be quite a pinch to do something like that. But let's see if the group's financial situation is really as bad. Then who knows what sort of a turn would this take. It would definitely be very historic if indeed this goes through. But I guess it looks more likely that both parties may just find a bit of a middle ground. Thank you so much, Mr. Ranina, for so simply breaking it down for us. 28th October is when the final hearing will be held with respect to the shares that are owned by the SP Group in the Tata Group. All right. Well, that's, of course, the latest coming in. We will do one thing. We'll take a very short break right here on the newsroom. Don't go anywhere. Okay, welcome back. You're watching the newsroom on ET Now. We're on to an exclusive story, and this could come in as a blow of the country's oil and gas producers. The Finance Ministry is said to have set aside a request from oil explorers and the Petroleum Ministry to cut taxes and royalties due to the fall in crude prices. Sources tell ET Now that the Petroleum Ministry has been asked instead to look into alternative relief measures for the industry. A special committee has been constituted by the ministry to look into this. My colleague Karisma breaks the story for us.
Well, right. What we are picking up is that Finance Ministry has rejected Petroleum Ministry's request for a fiscal relief package where, the ministry has asked Petroleum Ministry to look for alternative relief measures. It was in the month of April, early COVID times, when ONGC and a couple of private oil companies had written to Petroleum Ministry regarding cutting down of royalty and cess to zero. Currently it stands at about 20%, and the company requested this to be given when and how the oil price drops. The crude is below $25 barrel for oil. But Finance Ministry is not very keen on picking this up currently. In fact, the Petroleum Ministry has constituted a new committee in the ministry who are looking for other ways in order to bring some kind of relief.
Right, Karishma, thank you so much for that. Well, that's all the time we have for you on this episode of the Newsroom. Thanks for watching.